I'd ask you to take it away from me. And you're straight from this place, so you always will see. But then I have to go away.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Rocking Horse Podcast. I'm your host, Jack Cheese. Today's episode is The Jungle Book, the 1994 one, the live action one. Honestly, I feel like this movie is very, very underrated. But maybe it's like at the time in 1994, 95, you know, it was probably overrated. But now, again, nobody really talks about this one. And I grew up with this one. I didn't grow up with the animated one. The old one. Damn. Yeah, I didn't grow up with that one. I grew up with this one. Anytime someone was like, "Oh, Jungle Book," I always thought it was this one with Jason Scott Lee being Mowgli. And I always thought, like, yeah, that was really cool. And then, like, they go and the tiger eats the people, and they're like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I'm like, the tiger, it eats people in the beginning. It eats Mowgli's dad, and then he runs into the jungle, and he is raised by the animals. They're like, "Nah, man, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You didn't even see Jungle Book." And I'm like, "Jungle Book, no, please, Jungle Book." Yeah, so I grew up with this one. This is my favorite Jungle Book. I think well, for nostalgic reasons, I really like this movie, so it's up there with my like childhood movies. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, The Jungle Book has been made and remade and remade and remade a lot of times. It was a book, and then it was made into a movie in the 60s. I think that's the animated one. Yeah, and then it was this live action one, which like kind of flew under the radar. But I think it's the best one, honestly. And then there's the other two, the live action ones. Yeah, this movie stars a lot of people. Like I said, Jason Scott Lee is Mowgli. Cary Elwes, for those of you that don't know who that guy is, he was in Princess Bride. He was in Saw. He cut off his foot because he wanted to save his family. Spoilers. Lena Headey. She was in 300. Most of all, she's in Game of Thrones, Queen Cersei. Sam Neill's in this. He's Lena Headey's dad. John Cleese, Jason Fleming, and a lot of people. Yeah, and the animals, they don't talk in this one. they don't talk in this one. They're real animals trained by professionals that on a bad day I'm pretty sure would eat you. Yeah, there's all the same ones. There's Baloo, Bagheera. Then there's wolves in it. King Louie is a big orangutan. And then there's Shere Khan, the Bengal tiger. There's like real animals. There's real monkeys. There's real chimpanzees. Real camels, wolves, elephants. I think that's why it was very authentic. Like when they were in the jungle, they were in the jungle. Jungle Book. I don't know. This one is my favorite. The movie is, I think, just like the other ones. I'm sure the book is the main blueprint for this movie, but I feel like this one, they had to make it, very happy ending-ish, which is pretty cool. There's some really dark, disturbing elements in this movie, which I really like. And that's why I thought it was one of the greatest ones, because the animated one's going to go very animated. I'm sure there's dark elements in that too. And then the CGI ones, the later ones, are the CGI ones. But this one has like an adventure feel. It was directed by Stephen Sommers, who also did The Mummy. That's why it has this whole like mummy-esque, like pre-mummy feel, and it totally does. Because I remember comparing the two. There's a scene where Mowgli and Kitty, Lena Headey's character, go into a temple to go find King Louis's treasure. Carrie Elwes and J.C. Fleming go after them, and there's like a sand tomb that just starts to collapse, or because of pressure and weight and sand or moved around, the place starts to collapse and close in on itself. And I'm like, there's traps like that in The Mummy, and that's when I found out the connection and stuff and putting them together. And I'm like, oh, it's done by the same guys. Yeah, this movie, I don't want to say like it's a shot for shot, because there's no real, like, unless you're taking it from the book. It starts with little Mowgli and a big militia camp in the jungle, and I think they're making their way through the jungle, or they are trying to destroy the rebels or something like that. But then they're like, destroying the rebels was, I would say, pretty easy for them. The thing that is the biggest problem is Shere Khan, the tiger, the king of the jungle, is running around, not only killing some of the rebels, it's killing them too. And Mowgli's dad is training him to be I think another soldier. It's not implied, but it feels like, well, he's in the military camp. And Mowgli and Kitty are good friends. They grew up together. I think her mother passed in the movie. It's not really said. But Mowgli falls in love with her, and then the tiger appears and causes mayhem, destroys everything, kills a lot of people, and Mowgli starts his adventure. There is a really not strange, but there's a interesting scene where his father is teaching him the animals in the jungle, and he's pointing with a knife on this big vase. It's like a big glass vase, and he's like putting the knife on it, and he's like, oh, and he's naming the animals, and he's like, bear, and then the other one's a wolf, and then panther, python, I think. And then he's like, that's very good, Mowgli. What about this last one? He points on the tiger, and he's like, oh, that's me. And his dad laughs like, ha, ha, ha. He's like, you? He's like, yeah, that's me. The holy man in my dreams told me. Being a kid, watching that, I'm like, what is that? What? Just get to the tiger, man. But then it's really interesting how they put that in the scene, whereas like he dreamt that he was going to one day become this tiger to fight Shere Khan. So right off the beginning, the tiger like kills a lot of people. There's a big explosion. Mowgli is in the jungle. He is raised by all the animals. None of the animals talk. He meets Baloo. He meets the gray wolf, Bagheera. And he grows up, and he meets King Louis. He meets all the animals, all his best friends, and he grows up with them. He is raised like a bear. He's strong like a bear. He's raised like a wolf, so he hunts in a pack, and he's taken care of by the panther like a surrogate mom. They're like, well, this is how you climb trees, so that's how he climbs trees, and he sleeps on the trees and all that. And he's In a sense, I want to say he's like a little prince, and everyone's like his king's guard, and they're all protecting him, and he's chilling, eating berries and fruits, and sometimes I guess meat, fish. I guess one of those. It's like, hey man, you respect the jungle respects you back. If you want to eat this, go ahead and eat it, but you gotta pay it back. So I feel like that's how the jungle rules are. And he's having a party and he's hanging out and he's chilling with all these other animals and stuff. Then he meets King Louie, and King Louie's like, oh, and he's like flipping him off, talking in King Louie orangutan language, and he's pissing Mowgli off, like, hey. And they understand each other because you can tell that like he's mad at him and they're mad at him. And Mowgli goes into the little temple with the sand traps and everything, but then he like falls into another trap, falls down the water. And then the water takes him straight to the treasure, where all the treasures were like pirates, old kings, and other kingdoms. The kingdom before that was there is there. King Louie shows up with his big old crown, and all these monkeys appear. Like they're like running around. They're like, what the hell? And Mowgli is like looking at the treasure. He's looking at but it's like, it's that old saying where it's like there's treasure in a certain area that's like so easy. It's that saying where it's like, it can't be that easy. There's got to be something here. And of course, the monkeys led him there so he can be eaten by the big anaconda thing. I remember when I was a kid, I used to think that it was like a dragon. It was like a dragon snake. I was like, no, that's not a snake, man. Nah, man, they're playing with us, man. That's a dragon snake. So the big anaconda comes out of the water and battles Mowgli. Mowgli fights this thing with his life. He uses a diamond-crusted, crystallized metal blade, and he stabs the snake. The snake freaks out and swims away. And all the monkeys and the chimpanzees and the King Louie are watching. They're like, oh man. King Louie's so upset he throws his crown. He's like, oh man. In a sense, they all, Mowgli won their respect. Mowgli keeps the blade and like leaves. But I think in around that time, Kitty, played by Lena Headey, is older now, but he recognizes her. She's with Cary Elwes now. And the way they meet again is they're like, I think they're taking lessons, and John Cleese is their instructor, and they're painting, they're learning, they're reading about monkeys and chimpanzees, certain flowers, and this and that. And the guards are Cary Elwes, Jason Fleming, and other soldiers. And John Cleese is the teacher. There's other women there, and Kitty's taking the class and everything. Blah 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 blah. They leave, and she's just kind of wandering, looking at the jungle and stuff. And then Mowgli sees her, and he remembers her, and he's like, "Oh, you're he doesn't know how to talk. He knows only jungle talk, so he just knows like King Louie language." He's like, I want to impress this girl. The bear shows up, Baloo. They start wrestling, blah, blah, blah. They start wrestling. She freaks out. Yeah, so then they try to humanize him again. Not humanize him, but they try to teach him to be civil, I would say. Not teach him how to be human. What the hell? They try to teach him to be civil. He's learning English language. He's learning math, history, this and that. Learning about the jungle, the country that he's in. Learning how to eat and drink properly. They're teaching him. Sam Neill's in this movie. He's he's kind of in it. I want to say he's in it. He's like barely in it. Wait, before that, he sneaks in to see Kitty again. They capture him, they beat his ass, they kick his ass, they have him in prison. But he has that blade, that diamond encrusted snake dragon slaying blade, you know what I mean? And they're looking at it and they're like, oh shit, where did he get this? This is priceless. And then they say it's like a blade from certain kingdoms from the 15th, 16th century. They're like, how does he have this? This is the same exact blade. This is the same exact blade that knows where if you have this blade, in a sense, you know where that big crown that King Louie had. Not orangutan King Louie, the real King Louie. But orangutan King Louis has the crown, and that crown is pretty priceless. And if you know where the blade is, you know where the crown is, then you know where the treasure is. And they're like, all right, you know what? Instead of like forcing him to go, let's teach him the English speaking language. All right, so that's what they do. And then there's a whole montage, and it's pretty hilarious. It's pretty funny. They get to know each other, and this and that, this and that. So there's like a banquet thing going on. Cary Elwes has had enough with Mowgli. Jason Flemyng and Cary Elwes like insult him. They push him into a big cake. He falls into a big cake. He's upset. He's angry. And so then he just gets up and he's like, oh, he gets mad. He leaves. And then they're like, shoot, we need that. There's a mutiny between Cary Elwes and Sam Neill. So Sam Neill gets shot. He's almost going to die. Mowgli appears and they take Kitty. And they're like, the only way you're going to get everybody back is if you take us to the gold. Take us to the treasure. Take us to King Louis's crown. So he has to comply, He has to comply. He gives himself up. They put Sam Neill on an elephant, so they trek the jungle. They go through the jungle, deep in the jungle, and then they're going through it. But Mowgli is like, in a sense, I think he's the prince of the jungle. So he knows where certain traps are. He knows where certain things are. And he's like, I'll take you guys to King Louis. But you guys don't want to see King Louis. So he takes him to King Louis. Some of them, get attacked by animals. There's this really cool sequence. I remember as a kid that this part would always freak me out, was when one of the guys that was beating him in the prison that found the blade and gave it to Cary Elwes. That guy, I'm like, man, this guy sucks. Like, he keeps beating him with this big wooden mallet stick. But that guy, he's chasing Mowgli, and that guy falls into a sand trap. He falls into a quicksand, and he keeps moving and struggling. He's like sinking more and sinking and sinking, and he's freaking out. He's just like like the pain. That guy's a great actor, man, because I really believe that. I'm like, oh my god, he's dead, he's dying, he's dead, that's it, it's over. He sold it really well, and he's like struggling. Jason Flemyng sees him, and he runs up to him, and he tries to pull him out of the quicksand, and he's like, oh, help me, and he like sinks to the bottom, and Jason Flemyng's there like all sweaty and panicky and freaking out, his lips quivering. He looks like he wants to cry. And then he hears the tiger's roar, and he's freaking out because he knows he's being stalked. So he starts running through the jungle, and he's running, and he's like freaking out, and he's like, he has to load his rifle one bullet at a time, and then he's like firing at nothing. He's just hitting trees and the floor and stuff, and the roar keeps getting closer and closer and closer, and he's freaking out. And that guy, Jason Flemyng, is selling this, because I remember being scared. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to India to go find this temple and find the blade and the thing and that and be rich. It's like there's a tiger there. Tigers are king of the jungles. The tiger finds him, eats him, mauls him. Bam, he's dead. Inside the temple, Kitty and Cary Elwes go inside, and they set off traps. There's like sand traps, and one of the guys that's with them like gets stuck in one of the sand traps. That, like, I think he gets hurt or he breaks his leg, and then the sand is filling up the area that he's in, trying to kill Mowgli. The sand just buries him, and he dies. And I'm like, damn, this movie's awesome. This movie's awesome. Cary Elwes, Kitty, and Mowgli end up in the treasure room. They come out of the water, and Cary Elwes is like, look at all this treasure. Kitty's like, oh my god, this was real. And then Mowgli is like, no, come on, we gotta go. And Cary Elwes' character is like, do you really want to go, or do you want to be rich? And then all these monkeys and chimpanzees start showing up again. King Louis shows up, and he has big crown, and then he sees the crown and he's like, oh yeah, that's this. So if you follow the blade, you follow the crown, you follow the treasure room. But of course they led the human there, and the dragon snake shows up and of course eats him, rolls him up, throws him in the water, eats him up. And all of the monkeys and chimpanzees are like happy and then jumping around. They're doing their little monkey dances and jumping. King Louie's happy and he's clapping. Kitty and Mowgli find an exit. They leave the temple. And sure enough, guess who's there? Shere Khan. He's waiting for them. He shows up. And this is the moment. This is the moment about that dream. This is that moment. He sees Shere Khan. He looks at him. Shere Khan growls. And he roars and he yells at his face. And then Mowgli's like, I'm Shere Khan. I'm king of the jungle. And he roars and yells at his face. Shere Khan backs down and he's like, yes, you are. You are king of the jungle. You are the Jungle Book. And I was like, man, greatest live action Jungle Book movie ever. Why do I love this? Because they don't make these movies like this anymore. They can't. I don't even think man. I don't think they can make these movies like that anymore because, first of all, you got to be in location to sell the jungle, first of all. Second of all these animals, it's not one person training all of the animals. I think it's a bear specialist, a wolf specialist, a tiger specialist, a horse specialist. You know what I mean? Like it's like specific specialists. I don't think it's one person having to one person having to control all the animals. I think it's one person for one animal. You know what I mean? You can't make them like that. There's no way. I think it's just it's costly. It's too much. But I'm grateful that this movie exists because this really sold that. And I'm like, man, the jungle looks like the Jungle Book. What I remember the most is the adventure part. It's just like them just being in the jungle and, learning the jungle rules and what you have to give back. Oh, what you have to take, you have to give back. It's not easy as it seems, like that old saying where it's like, it's too easy. That's like this treasure here, you have to pay a price and some people pay with their lives. I remember seeing this movie. I saw this at home. I don't remember how, or I think my parents like rented this movie a long time ago, and then like I think my dad liked it so much, so he bought the VHS copy, and I watched that like constantly. I watched it all the time because it's like essentially an action movie. It's literally an action movie in the Jungle Book. Yeah, man, like this was the 90s, so it was like Jurassic Park, and then it was this, and coincidentally, maybe not coincidentally, Sam Neill's in Jurassic Park and then he's in this. So it was like, it made sense to me. I'm like, oh man, Jurassic Park's like one of my favorite movies. And then this movie has so much real animals and live action stuff going on, and it like teaches you lessons, and it's like a kid's movie, but it's, kind of dark, but it's, hopeful and happy ending-ish. I loved it. Just growing up as a kid, you just love it. I would watch this movie a lot with my sister because she's like 3 years younger than me. So we would always watch this. I think we would watch Snow White, Lion King, and then this one. This one like twice all the time. Man, we like wore out that little VHS tape. I think we watched it like 1,000,000 times. It was crazy. So crazy. So good, man. I hope people remember this, and go and watch it. And I hope like Disney Plus goes and just like, what, this was pretty classic. This is a good classic. We should bring this back. It's not on Disney Plus. I had to go out of my way and get it on DVD. It was crazy. Yeah, as for like the story, like I said, there's the blueprints, I guess, would be from the original book, the Rudyard Kipling's Jungle Book. Like I said, the blueprints from there must, the blueprints must come from there in order to make your version of a Jungle Book. So, yeah, the director, Stephen Sommers, he made this, and then he made another one called Deep Rising. There we go. It was, that one, to me, honestly feels like a video game. You're like this big luxurious super boat, and then these pirate mercenaries go into the boat to steal. Creature is in the boat. You got to fight the creature and escape. That's super video game stuff. I'll do that one. I'll talk about that one later. But he directed that one called Deep Rising. And of course he did The Mummy. He did The Mummy. He also did Van Helsing. The Jungle Book, Deep Rising, and The Mummy, I feel like, are his top-notch films. The actors, Jason Scott Lee, I think, when you're a kid, you can believe anything. You're like, oh man, that's Mowgli. I'm sure there must have been some issues with his casting, but I don't see an issue. He sold that man. Like, he is Mowgli. I mean, he played Bruce Lee in a Bruce Lee movie, and he played Mowgli in The Jungle Book, and I think, he did a great job. And if I ever meet that guy, shoot, give him a hug, be like, dude, you're my Mowgli. He'd probably be weirded out by that, so I'm not going to say that. Cary Elwes, man, that guy's great. What can't he do, Lena Headey, Sam Neill, Jason Fleming, John Cleese. There's a lot of Indian actors too. Yeah, Farhan Tahir is Mowgli's father at the camp. Stefan Khalifa is Buldeo. He's an outlaw. He's the outlaw, the one that knows about the kingdom and stuff. Yeah, man, like, such a great cast, such a great movie. To be honest, I still haven't seen the animated one, and I still haven't seen the CGI ones. And I don't know if I kind of want to, but I should, because then I can, put them all together and be like, well, this one's still the best one. And I honestly think this one is the best one because, like I said, you can't make these movies anymore. No one really wants to spend the money to go to a jungle and, to have trained animals do what they did in that movie, like run alongside Mowgli, pretend to wrestle Mowgli, not kill any of the actors, like that's pretty impressive. That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, like, maybe it's for nostalgic reasons. Maybe I like this movie for nostalgic reasons, but, if you rewatch it again, this one has the most adventure. This one has, like I said, I don't know about the story because the blueprints are from a book, and, the book describes basically everything. So it's like kid in the jungle, grows up, becomes like let's say, prince of the jungle, learns animals, falls in love, fights back, fights King Louie. Not fights King Louie, but, King Louie becomes an enemy at first, then ally, and then the militia battle them, face Shere Khan. You become Shere Khan. You are king of the jungle. You are Jungle Book. I don't know. But what do you guys think? Huh? You tell me what you guys think. Leave me a comment and tell me what you guys think about Jungle Book, the 1994 live action film. I believe it is the far superior one than the other ones, but I could be wrong. So, guys, this was episode 2. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys like it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sitting down with me and listening to me ramble. I will do another episode. I'm going to try and drop these weekly. So, yeah, stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll see you guys on the next episode.